I've had the pleasure of living a varied life in Manhattan. Everything from a studio in a pre-war building all the way up to a premier condominium in a 3-bedroom over 1,800 square feet. This video will cover the cost of living in Manhattan, New York City. We'll touch upon the cost of food, going out, transportation, and housing costs. We'll not only discuss what it takes to survive in Manhattan, we'll also discuss what it takes to thrive in the big city. So stick around and let's get started. Manhattan's cost of living is 64% higher than the state's average and 154% higher than the national average. Housing, on the other hand, is over 432% than the US average. Let's dig into some real-world examples. It's no secret, in New York City, the one thing that most people do is eat out. The options are endless, whether you're going on a date, a business meeting, networking event, or just hanging out with friends. New York City has some of the best food, but it comes at a hefty price. On average, you can expect to pay over 130% more than the US average for dining out. For example, when I go out for dinner with my girlfriend in Manhattan, we can expect to pay about $200. This includes an appetizer, a main course, and 1 to 2 drinks per person. Now, this does not include tips, which is about 20 to 25% of the total bill. And if you plan to grab a few drinks with your friends, expect to pay around $8 for a glass of beer or around $20 for cocktail or wine. Manhattan has a selection of grocery stores, everything from organic, specialty stores, international stores, and culturally appropriate grocery stores. According to Numbio's cost of living calculator, which estimates that the average New Yorker spends around $477 on groceries per month. My recommendation is if you're looking for something that is health conscious and competitively priced, check out Trader Joe's, or if you're looking for something more fancy, check out Zabar's or Cinderella's. Manhattan has a plethora of travel options. First, let's start with the subway system. In Manhattan, underground is a subway train network that takes you to all the 5 boroughs. A single ride costs $2.75, but you can also consider getting a monthly pass, which costs $127. My recommendation is to take the Metro bus, which is run by the same organization as the subway, but the buses are cleaner and they tend to be more spacious. You can also consider taking the express bus, which skips a lot of stops and gets you there just as fast as the subway. Personally, I prefer private transportation where you aren't crammed with other people. Try City Bike, which is a bike sharing program which has bicycles all across the city. They've just introduced electric bikes, and a single trip costs around $4.49, or you can get a monthly pass for $15. Or travel in your own e-bike or scooter. Manhattan has a plethora of dedicated bike lanes. In fact, my opinion is that you can probably get to your destination the fastest taking an e-bike or scooter in these dedicated bike lanes. It's way better than being crammed in public transportation, which sadly is highly unreliable in New York City. Rideshare is incredibly popular with services like Uber and Lyft. So much so that there are more rideshare vehicles than there are yellow cabs. You can hail one in minutes of scheduling a ride, but they can be extremely expensive compared to taxis. I highly recommend checking out Revel, which is a fairly new rideshare in Manhattan. All of their vehicles are Tesla EVs, clean, and in my opinion, they are priced lower than taking Uber and Lyft. I'll be sure to include my personal invite in the description below. Personally, I prefer to drive in Manhattan in the comfort of my own car, but it is expensive. For example, if you want to do street parking, for 1 hour of parking, it cost me recently $6.75. And I also have a dedicated garage space, which cost me around $500 per month in Manhattan. Now, the pro of getting that garage space is it also gives me access to park in any of the other garages that are part of the same network of my monthly space, and I get 50% off in those spaces as well. I'll be sure to include a link to them also below. And finally, the cost of housing. In Manhattan, you have 2 options. You can either buy a home or you can rent a home. If you decide to buy a home, the average price for a home right now in Manhattan is $1.1 million. The bigger challenge is coming up with the down payment. Most sellers in Manhattan expect you to put at least 20% as a down payment, which equates to $220,000. And that doesn't even include the closing costs, which are on top of that. The other option is to rent a home. In fact, 2/3 of New Yorkers rent their home. As of this video, the average price for a rental in Manhattan is $5,000. And to qualify for a home in Manhattan, you have to make at least 40 times the monthly rent. $200,000 in annual income. Do you want to take a look at some of these homes? Be sure to check out our website, undividedre.com, where we showcase homes for sale or rent. Not sure where to go or how to go about it? Contact us and we'll be happy to walk you through to find your dream home in Manhattan. So there you have it. What do you think about the cost of living in Manhattan? Can you see yourself living here in the big city? I want to hear from you. And please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel. Before you go though, make sure you check out my next video, the top 5 best neighborhoods in Manhattan.